Most machines are born with an expiration date. They are designed for a purpose, used for a moment in time, and then quietly erased by progress. Steel rusts, engine sees, technology moves on. But once in a generation, a machine refuses to disappear. Not because it was lucky, not because it was hidden away in a museum, but because it was so perfectly engineered that even time failed to defeat it. In 2025. While fifth-generation stealth fighters patrol the skies, while drones fight wars without pilots, while aviation has become digital, automated, and distant, there is a fighter aircraft designed during World War II that still starts its engine, still lifts off the runway, and still flies not as a relic, but as a living, breathing machine. This is not nostalgia. This is not myth. This is the true story of the P-51 Mustang. The World War II fighter that survived decades of history and still flies today. A world on the brink. To understand why the Mustang matters, you have to return to a world on fire. The early 1940s were chaos. Europe was collapsing under Nazi expansion. Cities were bombed into rubble. Entire nations disappeared in weeks. The sky had become the most important battlefield of all. The Allies believed that strategic bombing could end the war, destroy factories, cripple supply lines, break morale. But there was a deadly flaw in that plan. Bombers were slow. Bombers were heavy. Bombers were vulnerable. And they were flying alone. American B-17 flying fortresses and B-24. Liberators could reach deep into enemy territory, but escort fighters could not. Existing fighters simply didn't have the range. So bomber crews flew knowing the truth. Once they crossed into Germany, survival was a gamble. German fighters waited. Messerschmitt Bf-109s. Focke-Wulf 190s. They attacked in waves. Bombers fell from the sky in flames. Entire missions were wiped out. Losses became unsustainable. Their war was being lost. And unless something changed, the war itself might be lost with it. The impossible request in 1940, Britain turned to the United States. They needed a new fighter urgently. But not just any fighter. They needed one that could be built fast, flown far, and fight hard. The British approached North American Aviation, an American company with no experience building frontline fighters. The request was simple and impossible: design us a new fighter aircraft. And do it faster than anything ever built before. Most companies would have refused. North American didn't. Instead, they made a promise that shocked the aviation world. A prototype in 120 days. Engineers worked around the clock. There was no time for tradition, no time for bureaucracy, no time for mistakes. The aircraft was designed from scratch with one priority: efficiency. Laminar flow wing to reduce drag. A sleek fuselage shaped by airflow, not aesthetics. Every surface optimized. When the prototype flew, it was faster than expected. But it had a problem. At high altitude, it struggled. And in Europe, altitude meant life or death. The engine that changed history. The breakthrough didn't come from America. It came from Britain. British engineers suggested replacing the Mustang's original engine with the Rolls-Royce Merlin, the same engine that powered the Spitfire. When the Merlin was installed, the Mustang was transformed. Suddenly, it could climb higher, fly faster, fight longer, and most importantly, fly farther, with external drop tanks. The Mustang could escort bombers all the way to Berlin and back for the first time in the war. Allied bombers were protected from takeoff to target. The effect was immediate. German pilots noticed something terrifying. The escorts weren't turning back. And worse, they were aggressive. The Mustang didn't just defend. It hunted. When the sky changed hands. B-1944. The air war over Europe had turned. Mustang pilots swept ahead of bomber formations. They attacked German fighters on the ground. They destroyed training aircraft. They ambushed experienced aces. Germany still had planes, but they no longer had pilots. The Luftwaffe was bleeding experience faster than it could replace it. Every Mustang sortie chipped away at Germany's ability to fight. Historians still debate how much the P-51 shortened the war. Months, possibly years. But one fact is uncontested: the Mustang broke the back of the German Air Force. Why most WWII aircraft disappeared when the war ended? The world moved on. Jet engines rewrote aviation overnight. Propeller-driven fighters were suddenly obsolete. Thousands of WWII aircraft were scrapped. Aluminum was melted down. Engines were dismantled. Airframes were abandoned in deserts. Even legendary aircraft like the Spitfire faded into museums. But the Mustang didn't vanish, because it had something rare. It wasn't just a weapon. It was adaptable. A second war, a second life. In 1950, war erupted again, this time in Korea. Jets ruled the skies, but jets had limitations. They were fast, but thirsty, powerful, but short-ranged, poor at low-altitude support. Ground troops needed something different. They needed endurance, precision, reliability. The Mustang returned redesignated as the F-51. It attacked tanks, convoys, bridges, and supply lines, flying low, taking fire, absorbing punishment. It wasn't glamorous, but it was effective. Once again, the Mustang proved it could fight in a world it was never designed for, the civilian afterlife eventually. Even the Mustang's military career ended, but its story didn't. Private pilots discovered something extraordinary. The P-51 wasn't just survivable. It was exhilarating. Fast, responsive, alive. Air racers pushed it to extremes. Collectors restored wrecks that should have been scrapped. Entire aircraft were rebuilt from fragments. And slowly, a miracle happened. The Mustang didn't just survive. It multiplied. The danger of flying history. P-51 is not an easy aircraft. Pilots describe it with respect and fear. The long nose blocks visibility on takeoff. The engine produces massive torque. Landing speeds are unforgiving. There are no computers. No stability systems. Every mistake is punished immediately, even today. Mustang accidents happen, not because the plane is weak, but because it demands excellence. Flying a Mustang is not nostalgia. It is responsibility. The cost of immortality. Keeping a Mustang flying in 2025 is brutal. Purchase prices range from $3 to $5 million. An engine overhaul can cost $500,000. Fuel burn exceeds 60 gallons per hour. Maintenance requires specialists who understand engines. Designed in the 1940s, every flight is expensive. Every flight is risky. And yet, people still do it because nothing else feels like it. Why pilots still choose it? Modern jets isolate pilots. Fly-by-wire systems filter every input. The Mustang does not. You feel everything. The vibration of the Merlin engine, the pull of the propeller, the resistance of the air. Pilots don't fly the Mustang. They wrestle it. And that connection is addictive. Air racing pushing legends to fire races. Mustangs are modified beyond wartime limits. Engines boosted. Airframes stressed. They fly at terrifying speeds just feet above the ground. Some pilots die. Some aircraft are lost forever. But the races continue. Because for some, the Mustang isn't history. It's obsession. More than a machine. When a Mustang flies overhead, people stop talking. Veterans remember friends who never came home. Children stare in disbelief. Younger generations hear a sound that modern jets cannot replicate. It isn't just an engine. It's a voice from another time. How many still fly in 2025 as of 2025? Over 150 P-51 Mustangs are still airworthy worldwide. That number is almost unbelievable. No other WWII fighter comes close. They fly at airshows. They race. They are privately owned. They are meticulously maintained. They are not museum pieces. They are alive. Why we will never build another one? Mustang was born from desperation, designed by humans under pressure, optimized not by computers, but by instinct. Modern fighters are incredible, but they are sterile, too complex, too classified, too controlled. The Mustang was dangerous. And that danger made it legendary. Every year, fewer mechanics remain who understand these engines. Every year, parts become harder to source. Every year, the pilots get older. The Mustang will not fly forever. But as long as even one remains airborne, World War II is not over. It is still roaring across the sky. Most machines fade into history. The P-51 Mustang defied it. Built for a war that ended decades ago. Still flying in 2025. Still demanding respect. It is not just a fighter plane. It is proof that when humans build something with purpose, passion, and courage, time itself can be challenged. Subscribe Jet Curious for more aviation stories that refuse to fade away.